Oh, good. So it doesn't have to go in my small carry-on. I already get special attention by TSA. I think that would be hard to explain why I have a fake uterus in my suitcase. What are you doing with this, sir? We're working on maternal health in Zimbabwe. Welcome to With You Podcast.
Where we explore relationships and life transitions.
I'm David.
And I'm Tara, and I'm coming to you from Boise, Idaho.
While I'm still here in Wheaton.
Yeah. So the sound might not be as good quality from my end as it is when we're recording from home, but I'm on a computer in Boise, Idaho today.
Yeah. So why? I know why, but why are you in Boise, Idaho, and we're doing this weird podcast?
I know. So we had something. So this is a slice of life from David and Tara today because this is what life often looks like for us when plans don't come together. But I had this 10-day training trip planned for quite a while. And so we were planning to record a podcast on a fun topic that we'll revisit another time.
That's right.
Before I left, but I ended up attending a birth until after midnight the night before I flew for my training. So we did not have anything ready to send or deliver for the podcast. So we are just going to catch up and with each other because we really haven't talked for a while.
Yeah, this is our date night that we're sharing with everybody.
And yeah, you're sitting at home and I'm sitting in an Airbnb many miles away.
I just dropped one of our children off at the train station in downtown Chicago. That child is taking a 21-hour train ride to their wedding.
I know. Let's talk about that. This is a whole new season now because with our final one graduated and back in the nest for an undetermined amount of time.
It seems like that's the developmental pattern in the Van Dyke household. You graduate college and you spend an extra year. We get a bonus year.
Bonus year. Yeah. So she's beginning her bonus year, but because she just graduated from college, it's also wedding season. And so a lot of her friends are getting married and she and a friend are traveling to somewhere on the East Coast, right?
Yeah, they're going to, I believe it's Connecticut, and going to be having fun with their friends and having a bachelorette party and being in a wedding. And so I volunteered to be a chauffeur tonight and drive them to a 9:30 Amtrak train leaving Chicago. And it's interesting because I realized some of our family dynamics of we run, if you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. And her friend was so nervous about meeting that expectation and really proud of her. She was there on time. We got them downtown. It was a thunderstorm here. So the driving was really exciting and got them downtown, and the road was closed in front of the Amtrak station. So I just kicked them to the curb and had them walk into Grand Central Station.
I thought you'd have them take the Metro from our house into the city and then
yeah, well, that was the plan. And and I don't know, I'm just getting used to this kind of being the sole parent in the house for the moment. And I actually had to move our studio because things aren't how you left them, but everything's okay.
Uh-oh. So because I know if I was there seeing them off, I would have made sure she had snacks for her 20. Did you pack them a little lunch or snacks for their journey?
So this is the difference in parenting of you and I. I decided they're going to have to kind of learn on their own and as they go. So I got done teaching today and I got home and Annika is like, I need to borrow the car. And I'm like, why? She's like, I need to buy snacks. And so she and her friend both went and they got snacks because they're like, it's expensive buying stuff on the train. So they packed little picnics for their 21-hour adventure on Amtrak. And they're all set. They were worried about their luggage and then this food carry-on. And I'm like, you'll be okay. You'll figure it out. If nothing else, just start crying when the conductor asks you questions and everything should be fine. That was That was my fatherly advice.
Oh, sorry for my computer noises. Did you tell them to sit on their backpacks or sleep on their stuff?
Well, I did remind them that when we took the train through the channel from England to Brussels, that we had our backpack stolen because we put it above us on the train and fell asleep. And when we woke up, all of your clothes were gone.
I'm glad you told them that story because I would have done the same.
Yeah,
Just a little.
yeah, it was a story for them. It wasn't what they're supposed to do, but I was just like, let me, Annika, let me remind you what happened. And she's like, oh yeah, and I could see both of their eyes get really wide. So I have no idea what they're doing with their carry-on, but it should be an adventure. So I
Oh,
just yeah, I wanted you to know that they are safely tucked in at in the grand hallway down at Union Station, waiting. And
yeah.
I just got a text from her saying, "Oh, the train has malfunctioned, and so we are delayed. So it's going to be."
I I
Oh,
got that text as well, and yeah, that's the problem with train travel in the U.S. is it's not necessarily efficient. They're already delayed and they haven't even started yet, but
that's
they'll
right.
get there.
They
Well,
will
and
get
they've got
there.
each other.
And I realize I do have, given that this is our youngest child, I don't worry as much, even though I probably should, of just kind of like I was completely fine dumping my daughter on the streets of Chicago, and knowing she'll figure it out.
Yeah, she's roamed around down there before.
Yeah.
They'll be all right.
So that's that. Tell me about, and I wanted to let you know, the cicadas have taken over our backyard and front yard, and you can't even hear stepping outside.
I've heard the decibels are just like mind numbing.
Yeah, nerve rattling. And it seems to be wherever there's trees on a high spot. So as I walk to work, I get bombarded. I've had more cicadas than I know how to count hit me in the face as I'm walking to college.
That's
And they're screeching, and it is an adventure in our front yard.
Yeah, well, for anybody who's listening from a place where you don't have cicadas, we will post some pictures on our website because it really is wilder than you even think. These bugs are bigger than, I don't know, like a date or
Yeah,
like
it's about the size of my nose.
yeah, with wings and they don't know how to fly very well and they're just everywhere. It's like a plague, right?
That's right. It does feel kind of biblical.
Yeah, so I don't miss that. So do you want a rundown of what I've been up to?
Yeah, I think you've been gone for a week so far, and there's another 5 days. I miss you terribly, but I'm curious of what you've been doing.
No, we haven't gone to check in much because I've really been working from dusk till dawn.
Yeah.
No, other way around.
Well, you've been doing a lot of work.
Yeah, I'm so tired. Um, so this is the second of two trainings that I've gone to back in two different states. I flew initially to Knoxville, Tennessee,
Yep, and
and
it's Great Smoky Mountains.
in the Great Smoky Mountains. And oh my goodness. So I went with a friend who also serves on the board for ICEA, which is our certification organization for childbirth educators and doulas. And we both decided we were on the track to become trainers. So doula and childbirth educator trainers.
Okay.
But there are some more steps that we had to have. So we went to the home of the person on our board who coordinates the trainers.
Yep.
And she lives right on the edge of the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. And it is beautiful
Yeah,
area.
I am not sure you were working all the time. I think you
Oh,
might have been in the woods
I
playing a little bit.
I assure you, we did take a couple trips into the woods because our friend who was hosting us has lived there her whole life, and she is a mountain girl, and she's older than I am. She's lived there her whole life, and she drove us up through the mountains. We saw bear, we saw coyotes, deer, wild turkeys. I mean, this is just in her front yard, basically.
Wow, that's a lot better than cicadas.
Yeah, I mean it really is a beautiful area. But we spent 3 solid days. She has like a big classroom in her house where she does trainings. It's kind of a separate space. And we really would get up, make coffee, fry a couple eggs, go up to the classroom from basically 8 o'clock in the morning. We were so into it because we're all speaking the same language about all this doulas, talking about how to train great doulas and great birth educators, and getting so into it that we would realize it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and we haven't eaten lunch. And we're wondering why we're getting a little loopy. And we would just snack on fruit all day. And then about 7 p.m., we'd go out somewhere for dinner and drive through the mountains and then come back and then keep talking until midnight, all about the same stuff, the birth stuff. So we got 2 certificates for these full workshops. They'll train us to be trainers and just have to finish our curriculums. But that was good. And then we flew
Well,
straight.
before you fly, anything
Yeah,
that surprised you? So you've been being a doula for 12 years, more,
more
uh,
than 12. Yeah.
400 births, something like that. What surprised you that's different about kind of training trainers versus actually being boots on the ground, so to speak?
Well, I don't know if something surprised me because we're all kind of coming up with our curriculums together based on our experience. So, based on our combined, I mean, seriously, if you put all our experience together, the 3 of us, probably 40, 60, 80 years of
Mm,
experience as doulas. And so, thinking about what do doulas really need to know, and childbirth educators. Like, what do parents need to know
yeah.
that childbirth educators and doulas can help them with? And so we all, I learned more, I think, about the childbirth educator side because I haven't taken a training in that for about 20 years. So just about how adults learn and how to use engaging activities in the classroom and even in the doula training too, because ultimately you're teaching adults how to do this skill.
Yeah.
So how to combine lecture with activities and in-person, hands-on things. So
Yeah.
we talked a lot about that and building it.
Well, I'm looking forward to comparing notes. I'm teaching child development right now, and we talked a lot about learning implicit memory, explicit memory, and how we retain, encode, and kind of recollect as we learn. Both kids, parents, and I showed a video about does parenting matter, and we talked about epigenetics, and you are what your grandpa ate, and you were egg. If you're a woman, you were the eggs in your grandmother, and kind of the multi-generational transmission of both biology, epigenetics, and behavior. So seems like we're right in the same zone together.
Well, I mean, that has been the point all along for our careers to dovetail. So what was the answer to the question?
Parenting does matter, but it doesn't matter as much as we think it does. And a lot of times
Oh,
we blame parents for the outcome, where it's really much more complicated than that. I mean, we can be helpful or problematic, but it's not a direct association with our child's behavior. But we tend to attribute that to parents, and I think that's the hard part when our kids mess up. We take some responsibility for it. That may or may not be true. So, helping therapists not get judgy about parents and blaming them, but coming alongside them was a big part of today's topic.
that's a good word.
Yeah. So you finished in Tennessee, got 2 certificates, gave a bear a hug, hugged a tree, and then you jumped on a plane to Idaho, Iowa, Idaho,
Idaho. I don't think I've
Idaho,
ever been in Boise, Idaho before. And I learned today you say it Boise, not Boise.
Boise.
Yeah, I didn't know that before. So learned something new. Yeah, so we flew through Denver. We had a little bit of plane trouble in Denver. Had a bit of a bumpy ride over the mountains. But we got here late last night, arrived in the dark, got a little Uber ride to our Airbnb. And so, what we're here for this time is a whole different training. It's a 4-day workshop put on by Mercy in Action.
Mm-hmm.
And the title of the workshop is Strategic Education toward improving maternal child health in developing countries.
Wow, that's a mouthful. How would you like kind of elevator speech it?
Well, that is the elevator speech. Basically, it's training us. Apparently, by the end of this training, we're going to be master trainers, training the trainers in these special skills for learning how to know warning signs for the most common reasons that mothers and babies die in childbirth. So for mothers, because in developing countries where they have a high maternal mortality rate and high infant death rate, sometimes there's just a lack of some basic skills in certain areas that sometimes maybe are under resourced and don't have skilled providers near them. So it's bringing these trainings to those places
Okay.
where they have at least the skills to help mothers and babies survive until they can get more advanced care. So the number one reason for death in mothers and babies during the birth process is usually the right after time. So it's bleeding after birth, postpartum hemorrhage can happen really quickly. So, and for babies, it's, if they're not breathing well right after birth, it's how to resuscitate them and know the signs when they're not breathing well. So they have these demonstration models that are just amazing. And you can take these demonstration models. There's a really discounted price for developing countries. So, for example, when we go to Africa this summer, I can order that at a really discounted rate and have it shipped directly there.
Oh, good. So it doesn't have to go in my small carry-on.
No, you don't have to bring a fake maternity belly in your suitcase.
I already get special attention by TSA. I think that would be hard to explain why I have.
That might just push you over the edge if you had that in your suitcase.
A fake uterus in my suitcase. What are you doing with this, sir? We're working on maternal health in Zimbabwe.
Yeah. So we learned about these techniques and assessment tools and things, and then had to teach them back. It's a really great program because they teach it to you, the instructors teach it, and then they demonstrate it, and then you have to teach it back.
So that makes much more sense because the picture, you didn't give me a text, you really just sent me a picture, and I was in the middle of lecturing about neurobiology, and I get this picture of you on your knees pushing on a red bag on this strange lady that I don't know. And that was it. There was no comment. That was just, I get these, for you listening, I get these strange pictures from Tara that she sends me occasionally, and I'm like, what is happening? And then I had to just kind of not get distracted and go back to the lecture. But so that was preventing hemorrhaging. You were practicing preventing hemorrhaging in that picture.
So there's this cool demonstration model that you can use in any country because it doesn't require any electricity. It doesn't require any special. It comes in this compact backpack, and it comes with that red bag you talked about is this sort of neoprene belly model that you can unzip it, and it has this chamber inside but you can put red liquid in to simulate bleeding, so you can release it, so you can determine how much is too much bleeding. And it has a uterus and a cervix and a baby and a placenta, and can show retained placenta and all this stuff. And it's really cool. So you have one person that wears the demonstration model and another person who's assessing what's going on. And so you're and I'm not a medical professional, but you have to.
What is happening behind you? It sounds like there's a drag race happening.
Oh, I know. In this street that we're on in Boise, let me tell you, all night last night, it sounded like motorcycle drag races on the street all night. I wanted to Google, is that a thing in Boise? I don't know, but there's a lot of loud motor noise out there.
Sorry, I just got distracted a minute by it. It sounded like people were just racing right behind you in that moment. So you have all these toys and props, and you're using them. I'm excited, but I just have to ask a question. When we're in Kenya and Rwanda, I don't have to wear the placenta bag to be the pregnant mom, do I?
Actually thinking that would be amazing.
I'm not sure the Rwandans are ready for that.
Oh, it would be a great icebreaker.
Yeah.
There's a one of the instructors of this workshop is a male, and he has been doing his part and wearing the thing and pretending to push out a placenta. So you could do it.
I do joke that when you were pregnant, I did have uterine envy. I mean, I was
Oh,
envious that you were growing a baby.
so
So
this would be the way you could finally experience. I could fill that belly up with 30 pounds of rocks, and you could know what it feels like to actually be pregnant.
oh man, what have I gotten myself into? This is going to be an exciting adventure we're going to have. So you've had 1 day of training there. You have 3 more.
Yeah, we've only had 1 day, and we've already been tested on a couple things we had to do. Oh, I forget the name of what the teaching. Oh man, there's some special like medical name for the objectives that you have to learn. And it was really a good tool because at the first thing we did when we started the workshop is take a test, basically to see what's your starting knowledge.
Yep.
And I got a 72% on that test, which I thought was pretty good because I had actually looked at the material they sent us ahead of time. So I'd sort of read some of the stuff, and some of it's just my basic knowledge about birth in general because I've watched this stuff happen. I mean, there's questions like the World Health Organization says if a mother's bleeding, or not, no, this is active management of the third stage of labor, of birth. A mother should get um, prophylactic oxytocin at how many minutes after the baby's born? It's 1 minute. Within
One
1 minute,
minute. All
the
right.
baby's born. So there are questions like that, and
And is that the oxytocin? That's Pitocin, the chemical form.
that is, yeah, and it's called different things in different places, but it's an artificial form of oxytocin.
And so does that foster, because I know that in my literature as the attachment love drug, but I'm guessing it has something to do with contraction and vasoconstriction as well.
Yes, in this case, it's good. It's not going to bond you to anybody. It's it's it causes contractions that help the uterus kind of clamp down and release the placenta much quicker.
So as you're talking about this, I feel like I want you to send the test and I want to just take it blind and see, because we're super competitive. I want to see if I could do a 72 without
Well, the
having the
second
training.
time I took it, at the end of the day, I got 100%. So
Oh, all right. Never mind. Don't
I'm
send it.
already.
The pre-post, you're crushing it. So,
It also shows that they're teaching it well,
yeah.
because it's really easy at the end of the day. And it also shows that the program is good because this is the program that I would be teaching to somebody else. And it's simple and it's to the point and you can absorb it pretty quickly. Um,
Well, it's
yeah.
it's encouraging to think about this next phase of your career in doing more education, training the trainers, and kind of building things that can be helpful, like you're talking about here in developing countries, of hopefully reducing mortality rates of maternal mortality rates.
Well, it's a cool program too because it's not meant for somebody to come in and say, "I know all this stuff." It's a program that's been developed by Johns Hopkins and World Health Organization and FIGO, which is where we went last October
Yep.
to that conference. And so they've come together and they agree on all these guidelines, and then you teach these people like me to present it so it can just get out there, far and wide. And so it's not just some one person's idea of how to make improve things. It's endorsed by all these really strong organizations.
Yeah,
And
and
then
I'm glad that it fits kind of with our philosophy. We want to be force multipliers. We don't want to be doing all the frontline things. And when you look cross culturally, when you look dealing with developmental. Not developing countries. I'm a little tired too. All
yeah,
my words are gone. When you're working in developing countries, there's a need for it to be within country and not us responsible for all of that. And I think that's why
yeah.
I went into teaching, and why you're going into teaching is it feels um, more impactful.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the whole thing that I'm doing here. This with both of these is one, train all the new doulas. We need so many more, and I've got enough experience to pass that along now. And then with this program, it is training the people in the local area And then they can take that and turn around and train all their local people,
Yeah.
whether it's the local midwives or the community health workers or, the hospital in services. It's really to be taken on. And then it does multiply like that. It just expands out in the local area.
That is
So,
so good, hun. Any fun things that you're gonna do in Idaho? Like what is Idaho and not Boise, Boise.
what's-
What's Boise known for?
I have not had much time. We got here late last night. We worked all day, and then we met another midwife student who my friend and I, Amy, who flew in. We didn't rent a car, so we Ubered to this Airbnb, and then we just walked to our training today. And so there's not a lot of dinner places around us. So a new friend drove us out to a restaurant in cute little downtown Boise. It seems like a fairly small. I haven't really gotten a good feel for it, but it was a nice little downtown with a pedestrian street and lots of restaurants. We got to see that, a little backdrop of some little mountains.
Oh,
It's dry, warm air, which I love from when
yeah.
I lived in Arizona.
Please come back. We
You're worried I'm having too good of a time, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, and this is always the case. I think it might be for you. It is definitely for me when you travel, and me being in charge of the household and things that I don't normally do. I just have a greater appreciation for you and want you home for all the reasons.
I recommend this to all mothers
I know,
for a while so they know what you do.
and I can't complain because Ryan, Ryan, our son, comes home from work and he goes for a bike ride. He takes a shower and then he makes dinner, and that's been every day you've been gone. And it's
He's a
usually,
good guy.
Dad, what would you like? And today he, instead of going for a bike, he went to the grocery store and bought a pork loin, and he did a beautiful pork loin with a mustard sauce and cauliflower. So I'm not suffering in terms of meals.
I'm jealous. Yeah, I've just been grabbing snacks at the grocery store on my way to my training.
Yeah, but I just want to highlight that you did a good, if we're going to take blame as parents, I'm going to give you credit of you did a good job at training your boys to cook because he's happy to do it. And I'm not starving or eating or living off of ramen and sardines, which was my plan. I do have a bunch of ramen. I went to the grocery store and I
Oh
bought
man,
ramen and
what
sardines.
what you would eat if nobody was taking care of you is atrocious. You would eat spaghettios out of a
Well,
can,
yeah, that's happened. Ring
tuna out
bologna,
of a can, and
ring
yeah,
bologna with ketchup.
oh, with ketchup.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a simple man. Well, I'm glad that we got to kind of touch base and also get our podcast in so we can keep our streak alive. We'll return next week. Hopefully Tara will come home, and we will return next week with a fun, playful topic, and look forward to doing that. Any last words, babe?
No, it's good to see your face. Don't have too much fun without me, and I promise I will come home.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.